Environmental science department. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, these people nerding out over this weekend.
Probably so. Long time ago.
Did Jamie say he's not here tonight?
No, they said he wouldn't be here last meeting.
I was thinking about that. If those things pass, but I'm not sure that I don't give him much time.
Which thing?
The new law.
I don't know what happened to this.
No comments, nobody said anything.
No, but Leo did say that they had our comments.
Thank goodness.
Because I was at a meeting.
What's the issue I raised last night? Right, I just think I'm using that. Really bad. It's not.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the planning board of the town of Armenia. I'm going to open the meeting. Pledge allegiance. Flag. United States of America. United States of America. There's an emergency. There's an exit back there, and follow me. Other matters. First thing on the agenda is minutes of 9/10/25. Was there any corrections or need to be done on 9/10/25 minutes?
But I want to make a motion, we accept the agenda.
Correct, I forgot that. Need a second to accept the agenda? All in favor? Aye. Back to the minutes. Was there any corrections or anything with it we need to discuss?
I sent some stuff to Terry.
Okay, we need to
I
Accept the
move that we
minutes.
accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. First on the agenda is Holt Residence, 81 Randall Road, site plan application.
I think the applicant's here, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
to make a brief presentation.
Okay, step on up to the mic and state your name and so forth.
Thank you. So, good evening, Chairman Boyles, Chairwoman Peak, and fellow board members. My name is Pedro Marmoleos, and I represent the applicants at 81 Randall Road. My clients aim to improve their property by building a two-bedroom addition to the existing residence on the property. When we last met, the planning board's engineer issued a series of comments for consideration. We have made progress on several of these items and on several of the items reflected in the comments. Their respective status is as follows. With respect to the engineer's first comment regarding the floodplain, in parallel to our progress with the board, we have gotten a letter of map amendment approved that removes the structure from the 100-year floodplain and establishes a new base flood elevation at 489 feet, which moves the property out of the special flood hazard area. With respect to New York State DEC, portions of the residential addition fall within the 100-foot adjacent wetland area and does require a New York State DEC freshwater permit. That permit has, the proposed work under that permit falls as a type 2 action and as such is not subject to any further procedures under seeker. With respect to item 3, which was the existing lot of record and existing non-conforming structure, the review comments identified 3 potential issues with the non-conforming site. They were the minimum required lot size, the front setback requirements, and the inclusion of an accessory apartment. With respect to the minimum required lot size, we have requested and received a ZBA variance for the required 5-acre lot size, and they have granted a variance of 1.47 acres, making the current lot size, this addresses the nonconformance related to the lot size. The front setback requirement, we have requested another waiver from ZBA on that required 40-foot minimum from the road, and they have granted a variance of 2.8 feet, and this will address the nonconformance at the front setback. With respect to the accessory apartment, under the ZBA variance pertaining to the required 5-acre lot, the lot is no longer nonconforming, and thus an accessory apartment is permitted. Item 4, the stream corridor overlay. The existing structure falls within 100 feet of the adjacent watercourse. The intent of the proposed addition is to not encroach any closer to the river than the encroachment of the existing structure. The existing structure is 81.2 feet from the Wibatuck center line, and our proposed addition will be further away than that dimension, and it will be 83 feet from the center line. The addition will not result in degradation of the scenic character and will be aesthetically compatible with its surroundings. The proposed addition will not result in erosion or upstream pollution from the surface or subsurface runoff. At this time, the proposed addition has been submitted to DEC and as previously noted, has obtained a permit, an approved permit. The Holts have been careful stewards of their property and often volunteer to help improve the surrounding community. In the past, they have assisted with clearing and landscaping at the intersections of Leedsville Road and Randalls Road. They have filed with DEC to help stock the Wibatuck with 2,000 brown trout. They have assisted with the removal of several dead trees along Randalls Road and replacing them with new ones, including dogwood, witch hazel, white pine, sugar maple, willows, and white spruce. They see themselves as members of the community for the long term and believe in protecting its unique character. We respectfully request that the planning board modify the required stream corridor overlay setback from the watercourse on this property to reflect the setback of the existing house at 81.2 feet from the center line. Comment 5 related to seeker. Again, as previously noted, it has been determined to be a type 2 application and thus no further actions on the seeker. We have corrected the agricultural data statement to include both site plan and special permit. Dutchess County DOH, Dutchess County Department of Health has reviewed the septic design and the location of the new well, and they have indicated in writing that they have no further comments and are waiting for the applicant to provide stamped hard copies for final approval. We are holding off on that until we complete our zoning and building permit approvals, and then we will engage contractors to have those permits issued. With respect to the driveway, the final comment provided by the planning board engineer, the configuration will be reviewed in parallel pending this zoning approval. That summarizes the status of those comments as they stand today.
Well, point of fact, we just received a submittal documenting everything he said on the 23rd, which was 2 days ago. Couple comments I do have. They had made a submission to the ZBA, and I had basically looked at that, and the ZBA did issue the necessary variances, and as this gentleman indicated, most of my zoning issues, all of my zoning issues go away. The lot is now considered conforming. They can have their accessory apartment, they have a front yard setback, and so that puts that matter to rest. They did submit a copy of a DEC freshwater wetland permit that came in a little earlier. The issue of they are in the stream corridor overlay district. They are constructing a structure that is much greater than 500 square feet. So they need site plan approval from this board. They also need from this board a final determination as to setbacks from the watercourse, the way your code is written, and because this lot was in existence prior to June 19th of 2007, you have the ability to modify those setbacks. You don't need, ZBA actually played no role in that. Now that a lot of these issues have been put to bed, I don't disagree that this is now a type 2 action because it's back to a single-family home addition on an existing lot of record. So we recommend that you classify it as such. The agricultural data statement, I don't know if that ever got mailed out, Judy, that'll have to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay. Dutchess County Health Department, I take no issue with what you're saying, but technically speaking, as a condition of any final site plan approval that this board issues, you will need to have signed and sealed Health Department approved drawings. The driveway, I don't know if you've reached out to Highway Superintendent Chamberlain yet. I imagine Megan and I are gonna have to go out there. I haven't heard from her, but we'll take a look at that. And then in your submittal, what I did not get is a fully complete and consistent civil set prepared by Insight. So I can't complete my review. Where you sit tonight, Mr. Chairman, is kind of up to you folks. I would suggest you declare this a type 2, which classify this as a type 2, which puts that issue to bed, and then depending upon how your feelings are, because they progress with a lot of the issues, you could conduct a public hearing if you so wished. Or schedule a public hearing. I'm sorry.
Schedule for it. Paul, any comments on this?
Yeah, I agree with John. I guess the only question that I would ask would be back to the applicant, because you'd be scheduling it a month out if you decided to do that. So you'd be looking at the November 12th meeting, I guess. Is that right, Judy? Yep. Does that give you enough time, the applicant, to get in the civil set that John's looking for?
With respect to the civil set, there was a full set submitted with our initial application to both the building department and to the planning board. We can,
It needs to be updated, sir. You got your variances. Typically, the variances get noted on that. I don't know
Absolutely.
whether you've made any modifications for health department. You're going to have to amend the lines and language with respect to the floodplain because you now have a letter of map amendment. There's been a bunch of changes to that, and I think you actually tweaked some of the footprint on the house and a few other things. So what I need, I think the variance was originally 3 feet, and now it's down to whatever, 2.7, whatever it was. So I think there's been some minor modifications. So I need a fully consistent set that matches where your current application sits.
understood. To your question, Mr. Cott, I think we have enough time to make those changes and have a conform set back to the board.
Okay, it's open for discussion. Do you want to have a public hearing or not? It's open for discussion.
Well, I have a concern.
Okay, that's fine.
I noticed that your addition lies in a 100-year floodplain.
It does per the current maps, but we have applied to FEMA for a letter of map amendment and hired an engineer to do the floodwater analysis, and they have computed the elevation to actually be much lower at 489. So actually, if you can go
They have an
to,
official letter of map amendment, Jim, so that takes it out of the floodplain. That's why I just need to see the civil drawings to make sure everything matches. But they followed all the procedures, so they have a map amendment. They are no longer encumbered by the floodplain, so they don't need a permit.
So you've seen that?
I haven't seen the final drawings. I've seen the letter of map amendment. You have too. It was in what you got on the 23rd. I don't think anybody had any chance to even open it, but it is in there.
drawing number 6 in your package shows the relationship between the two lines.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Open for discussion.
Can you just, I just had a question about the drainage pipe graphics. Are those culverted? And is this shown on your engineer, the site plans that were submitted originally?
Be honest with you, I don't
Can
recall.
you just give a little detail on those?
Yes, I can, yes.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
the culvert drawings, are you were referring to drawing number 4 perhaps, or?
4 has culvert,
Uh-huh.
and then the 3 aerial photographs
Okay.
that follow have like a hatch
Sure,
dashed
sure.
line that shows drainage
Can you pull up
pipe?
drawing number 4, and then we'll tab down to the 3 subsequent pages. Okay, so this is where we start where we first mentioned the existing stormwater culvert. And if you look at the lower right-hand corner, there's an image of it. It's basically, it's a stormwater culvert, comes in from under the road and drains and discharges onto the Holtz property. It then makes its way towards the wetlands and eventually to the Wibbatuck Creek. If you go to the next slide, there is one more further to the east along Randall's Road that also seems to do the same, and it goes under the neighboring Mealy property, but also makes its way through the Holtz property, from under the road through the Holtz property and eventually to the Wibbatuck. These diagrams are put in here because there were some questions from the community at previous meetings about where the stormwater drains were and what the relationships were to the property.
Okay, so these are existing.
These are existing,
culvert
and I believe put in by the
drainage.
town culvert drains, yeah, to the Wibbatuck.
Because if you refer to one of the civil drawings, there is a 15-inch on the east side of the property that drains in, and then it has a swale down to the creek. They're gonna continue all that, and it's just gonna follow the same pattern it follows now. And then down closer to the creek, they're manifolding all their roof and footing drains together, and an outflow from a rain garden and putting in another. So it's a pretty detailed plan. But
Yeah,
the culvert, to the extent, I didn't even look at that drawing, but there is a 15-inch indicated on their plans.
that's correct. And we're not continuing that culvert, though. That culvert's existing already.
Hmm?
Well, you
No,
said we
you're
were.
not continuing,
Right.
you're just not disturbing the swale that it discharges.
That's correct.
Understood.
I notice you're going to take what's currently a living area, the studio, and you're going to turn that into storage? Is that what this is? Is that what it's called, the studio? The use is proposed as storage.
That's Morrison.
That's a different,
That was on a,
that's a different
That's
application.
Oh, Morrison, sorry.
No worries.
Apologies.
Different application.
So you've gotten Board of Health approval for the septic?
Yes, Department of Health, we've gotten, yes, they've emailed us back saying that they have no further comments, and they're just waiting on us to submit the signed and sealed plans.
Well, it's nice that you stopped the creek. That was,
The applicant is they see themselves in the media for the long haul, and they are responsible stewards of the community.
used to pull out a nice brown trout out of there
Oh, yeah?
one time.
True story.
Yeah, we've done it 4 years in a row. We put about, I think, 2,100 trout over full time.
Kudos.
Those can swim in other directions, but, you know.
So what's your pleasure,
Doing what we can.
ladies and gentlemen, you want to have a public hearing? Or not?
Yeah, I move we schedule a public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
I,
Aye, we'll have a public hearing on the 12th of November, or October, I mean?
no, November.
November.
You were right the first
Day
time.
after holiday, so.
Yeah, okay.
And you probably should take the additional step of just classifying this by simple resolution as a type 2 action under seeker requiring no further review.
Someone make that a motion?
so moved.
Second,
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so carries.
Okay, so we're all teed up for the public hearing as long as we
Yes.
get drawings in advance.
Would you, contemplating that, would you like to have a draft resolution potentially for approval?
Yes, please.
The only
Thank you.
thing I would remind you all, you did receive a correspondence from Terry Metcalf, Chairman of the Zoning
Mhm.
Board of Appeals. I've received a couple phone calls from him.
All right.
Although it's not in their purview, it kind of sits squarely on your plate, and it has to do with the sizing of the addition. The zoning board had some concerns, and they just wanted to point it out to you folks and make sure that you were satisfied with the sizing.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're good. Next on the agenda is Mark Morris, 128 Old Route 22 Wassaic, site plan, special permit application.
Mark Morrison That is off the agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Morrison received, just by way of explanation, Mr. Morrison received his variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. That put all of the issues to bed, the best I can tell, based on the building inspector's denial letter. And since there is no other action that would trigger with this board, he was summarily dismissed from the agenda.
Perfect.
You can move on.
Foxhall Timber Harvest, Smithfield Valley.
Good evening. I'm Josh Cowan again, forester for Fox Hollow Farm. We're proposing a select timber harvest on stand 2 of the property, which is roughly 50 acres. The harvest consists of roughly 40,000 board feet, around 200 trees, 67 which are cull trees. This is a project designed to remove undesirable individuals and alter the stand structure for more higher quality, more vigor, and creating more available space, protecting wildlife and water quality. I believe submitted all the required requests from the town board and Chris and Pettis, the town forester, including most recently a letter from the DEC that was received on the 23rd. I believe, Ms. Westfall, you got that too? Which states we don't need a stream crossing permit or any kind of wetlands permit for the timber harvest because it seems to be far enough away from any adjacent wetlands with regards to bog turtles or more permitted streams.
Okay, Mr. Chair, to echo what Mr. Cowan said, you did submit this to the town's forester. He came back, he had 2 issues that were identified where he wanted additional information. Somehow one of them, I think, got missed by him. But issue number 2 was the bog turtle. As Mr. Cowan stated, we got a letter from DEC. It's not an issue. Mr. Prentice revisited his the application in his review, and he issued an email that says, yes, I agree, the application is complete and can move forward. So as a consequence of that, there are 2 issues that you can move forward on tonight. Since the application has gone through your forester, is now considered complete, it can be circulated to Dutchess County, which you need to authorize. And here again, everything is up to snuff. I would schedule a public hearing, because the Dutchess County is pretty quick about getting back. The unfortunate thing is the public hearing is going to be November 12th.
That's fine.
Well, I don't think it happened. Mr. Cowan's happy, but that's the only things you can accomplish this evening, sir.
Need a motion to be okay with Dutchess County? Somebody?
I'll make a motion that Judy circulate the materials to Dutchess County Planning for the GML 239M review.
Need a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to have a public hearing on November 12th?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so carries there. There you go.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You too. Next up is Cascade Creek subdivision divisions.
And excuse me, just on that one, same thing, draft
Yes,
resolution?
yes, please.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question I forgot to ask her when we were talking about the minutes? Thank you. There was 2 items on the minutes. One was the resolution of approval for R&R Concrete, and the other one was a letter to the applicant about 10 Mile Table. Did that happen?
The 10 Mile Table.
Yes, we've been in conversation with
Okay.
10 Mile Table people.
Okay.
Um,
And then the resolution for approval for R&R?
R&R Concrete.
It was supposed to be for tonight, I think.
Yes.
I don't know. It kind of,
Then, yeah, that's on me. Yeah, I didn't have
So
that.
that's just next meeting.
Yep, my apologies.
No worries.
You're up.
Time for the spiel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alrighty, everyone. Hi again. Peter Sander, representing the applicant, HRH, Hudson River Housing. Tonight we resubmitted the Cascade Creek subdivision project. So I'm just going to give a quick recap for everyone of what's being proposed. So we have a 24.13 acre lot within the suburban residential zoning district. We are applying for a conservation subdivision, which is essentially a subdivision that you decide not to do the conventionally sized lots in exchange for reduced lot sizes, while also having to conserve at least 50% of the parcel permanently in a conservation easement or deed restriction of something of that sort. What we have here is 28 proposed residential lots, as shown on the depicted layout, and 2 HOA parcels, which will contain the bulk of the site's subsurface utilities, again, nothing that you can really see, and then also be used for conservation land in perpetuity. That will all be managed by the HOA, which will be managed by HRH. The site is going to be served by a...
One second. Matt, do you have a copy of this that you can put up on the screen?
Just right here, but it's on the screen on the broadcast right now.
Oh, okay, we just can't see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
See? That's why I bring the boards. So...
Thanks, Peter.
So anyways, so the subdivision will be served by a common water supply system that's going to be served by those 2 wells that are identified on the plan, and a common wastewater disposal system. As you can see in the plan, we are conserving 59% of the project site, whereas the conservation subdivision only requires you to conserve 50% of the project site. So we thought that as we explain these plans, that's something worth noting. One thing I also wanted to mention is that the project site was actually studied by the town of Amenia for increased in suburban and higher density development, and this was done in the Amenia Hamlet plan. So I wanted to color that as something that we should all take in mind when we're considering what's being proposed on the site. As the board knows, the conservation finding statement for the conservation analysis we prepared for the site was adopted in June. And since then, we've been working on our preliminary subdivision application, which is officially kicked off by our recent submission. Some key points is that the subdivision site is surrounded by similar sized lots and uses. So again, this is a subdivision that's designed to mirror what is around it. We are in compliance with all the zoning district's intentions. We're in compliance with the conservation subdivision criteria, and we're in compliance with the comprehensive plan's goal of providing workforce housing, which is the main focus of this development. We also have prepared numerous studies exploring geological, archaeological, environmental, aquifer, and traffic, all of the studies of which concluded that there will be no impacts to those items. And again, this is something that is providing a public benefit that is required with subdivisions, a workforce housing requirement, but also heavily encouraged by the town of Amenia. So tonight, now that we've presented all this information, we believe the application is ready to declare a seeker action, circulate it to involved agencies, and hopefully schedule a public hearing so the members of the public will have their chance to speak out on the project and give us their comments that we can revise our application accordingly. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
John?
Okay. To echo what Mr. Sanders said, they submitted a voluminous amount of material. It included a letter, a preliminary subdivision plat checklist, land use application, which is now complete, FEIF Part 1, which is substantially complete, a project summary and seeker impact analysis, which is substantially complete, and a preliminary subdivision plat set of 10 drawings. Based on an initial review, the submittal is in substantial compliance with the requirements for a preliminary plat. And I don't mean that to say it doesn't have issues. There are technical issues that need to be resolved and will need to be addressed as it moves forward. But the information that's technically there is substantial enough for the planning board to begin to conduct a meaningful review of the application. The submitted checklist identified what the applicant called temporary waiver request. Typically, the information that they highlighted is information that's developed as the project proceeds. We reviewed each of their temporary requests. We take no exception should the board wish to consider them temporary waivers, but I would suggest that the information identified in these temporary waivers is not required at this time, and that the fact of the lack or absence of this required information does not impair your ability to review. You know, they don't need a road name today. Typically, you don't name a subdivision road until the very end. All the pipe sizing is still a work in progress. So there are some things that basically they will come as the project proceeds and you have your chance to comment on it. So I don't think you need to do waivers or anything. I think it's acceptable the way it is. The most important thing here is the information contained in the project summary and the seeker impact analysis is substantial. They have a traffic study. They have a hydrologic assessment. Mr. Topolsky had mentioned early on impacts on the stream, issues of that, water recharge, is there water? They have a fairly substantial evaluation of that. They have an archaeological assessment. They have a few other things. They have, as Mr. Sanders indicated, they do have a pretty good analysis of the comprehensive plan as it relates to this site. They also, interestingly enough, included a part 2 evaluation, whereas they took each of the questions, much like we did last time for Keene Stud. They took each of the questions and identified all the issues, pro and con. Bottom line here is, I did not myself identify any items that were likely to result in a significant adverse environmental impact. That's not to say you as the board members don't have concerns and don't have issues that need to be reviewed, but I think that's what you need to do is review and discuss the issues related to this project. There's a couple open issues that I kind of considered higher on my order of issues than others. There's a small area in the HOA parcel that's going to be deeded and part of the HOA, but it's excluded from the conservation area. That seems to be the water treatment building and a few other things. That's an issue that you need to talk through. The ownership, operation, maintenance of the waterworks and sewage collection and treatment facilities is somewhat still up in the air. Technically speaking, they're going to need to form transportation corporations, and those transportation corporations are independent entities. To the extent that they intrude upon other lands, we're going to need to see easements and other things and make sure everything runs to the proper people, much like we did on Silo Ridge more recently. They have a drainage system and they have a public right-of-way. The drainage system, again, leaves the public right-of-way and enters into the conservation easement areas and goes to a wastewater treatment, not a wastewater, a stormwater management facility. That's an issue that probably needs to be explored. They are proposing an internal water system, but to the chairman's chagrin, they are not proposing to include water for firefighting purposes. So that's an issue that you probably need to discuss.
So we did outline some spots for hydrants that will draw from the pressure tanks that are part of the water supply system. So just
it's truly not going to be. The tanks have about 12,000 gallons, of which they're going to be able to draw 6, perhaps.
we could put out a match.
That's an issue, Mr. Chair.
I know it is.
And then the last item is their traffic study doesn't really address pedestrians. And given where this is, with Freshtown virtually right across the street, and in taking into consideration some of the other things, pedestrian traffic and how this needs to be handled should be something you folks should be concerned with and may require an expansion. But having said that, I think the ball's basically in your court to start the seeker analysis and identify those issues that you have concerns about and perhaps need to ask Mr. Sander to expand upon them.
Yeah.
Am I right, Paul?
Yeah, I think, and there's a really important procedural aspect to this, which is, as we saw with Keene Stud, before you can even get to a point of, even though technically their application may be fairly close to being complete, in order to open a public hearing and give everybody a chance to talk about this project, you first need to make a seeker determination. And so this project summary and seeker assessment that the applicant has provided, which is backed up by all the information that they've generated, and is substantial, as John suggests, the board really needs to think about whether there are any issues that are of concern, that it considers may rise to the level of being a significant adverse impact. Because those issues then really need more discussion, they may need more additional information. If you make a seeker negative declaration, and you get to that point, and we're not talking about doing this tonight. I think tonight's more the conversation about kind of flagging issues to see if there's, bigger issues that need to be explored more. But if you say that there are no potential significant adverse impacts, then no environmental impact statement would be required, and you could go ahead and schedule the public hearing and hold it, okay? If instead, like with Keene Stud at the last meeting, you identify potentially significant adverse impacts, then that would trigger the environmental impact statement process. And a hearing would not be held until essentially you get to the point of having a draft environmental impact statement that the applicant has done after going through the scoping process that we're dealing with Keene Stud. So that's kind of the dynamic that you got to work within, but the first step is really the question of, are there any significant adverse impacts? And, we can talk through some of that tonight with this if you all are ready, but that needs to be a conversation to be had.
What's your pleasure?
I have several, after going through the plan, I have several concerns, and that will elevate the seeker analysis to a type 1. I'm happy to just list them, but we'll be here quite long. Things like density. I know how the zoning allows for the density. I know the bonus allows for it, but I think we have to consider what the visual will be when we do that. And to give you a sense of what that visual is, I realize it's two different zoning codes, but there's another project, Keene Stud, where they were building 31 lots. They asked for 31 lots, each one at 9.6 acres. And they were developing 297.6 acres out of 700 and whatever. If we were to take the same metric, quarter acre lots, how many quarter acre lots could we build on this Keene Stud property? Just to give you a sense of what the visual will look like. It's 1,190.4 houses up on that hill. That's what the percentage of the property will look like after development. People on the board have mentioned that the density is a serious concern to them. So that was just a fun thing I did this morning. You still mention affordable housing and workforce housing. 4 times I've said, or 5 times, I've said, which is it? And now within 2 lines or 3 lines, again, you're conflating both. So there are things like that. Drainage issues, we can talk more specific about that, but now's not the time. I'm concerned that we talk about what we're doing for the community of Armenia. But this housing is open up to everyone, and it doesn't ensure that the workforce housing is just for the community of Amenia. Because it's federal funds, it has to be open to an entire community. That seems to me to say we're doing this for Amenia, well, there's something there that I question. And again, so, I mean, I know we have, I would reserve a lot of my comments to when we could discuss this in depth.
Okay.
Good.
We could do that tonight if you guys like.
Okay, 2,600, from Town Hall going 2,600 feet up the Cascade Creek. It has something like, okay, a second, a couple of thousand times the E. coli standard right in the middle of that creek. I'm concerned that we're not protecting the creek from bacteria. That's a study, I can tell you when it was done. I mean, how specific do you want to go?
Well,
It's a bog turtle migratory path is like within, it's about 1,200 feet from Cascade Creek is a bog turtle is the extent of the bog turtle migratory journey. So yeah, it's not on your property, but within 1,200 feet, pretty close, whatever wastewater, runoff, whatever, is going to go into that environment. Can you do it? Sure. But it's something that concerns me. How do we protect? So, you know, I mean,
So I guess the
you want to give me
question.
an hour?
No,
I can
no.
give you specifics.
Well, no, because.
I don't want to give me an hour.
I mean, I would love to get a comment letter from you, and then I could go line by line and,
I will draft one.
yeah, that would be great, because again, your concerns are our concerns.
Or I will draft one for the board,
That's fine.
and then they can determine.
That would be perfect. Yeah, because again, I want to stress this. This is an organization that wants to better communities. It's part of their mission statement. It's what they are looking for in this project. They want to provide affordable housing for people. And those people will become Amenia residents, right? So Amenia residents are allowed to apply for this opportunity. And so I think it's important to note that anyone that is going to be living in this can also then come out and be a part of the town of Amenia. So it's just, I think it's important to stress that this is a community subdivision.
And I'm also going to have questions on how do we select, what criteria? And this is based on some other experiences I've read about regarding HRH.
Mhm.
In terms of screening residents or prospective residents. It became problematic, and the screening didn't seem like it had the residents in mind.
Mhm.
Or the community in mind. So I'm going to want to know more about that as well.
Okay. Yeah, we have a
And I'll
whole,
put that in this specific response.
yep, perfect.
The only caveat that I would mention is you really want to try and frame that in the context of your seeker review and the issues that they've, basically coming off of what they've done here from seeker, okay, and what they have as their backup to all of this. Because that may answer a lot of those questions. But because for the board, the workforce housing aspect of it, how that fits into your seeker review, that's another question,
And what if it,
I'm just saying.
that's
it's something to
excluding the
think- yeah.
code. So code
Yeah,
is separate, but some of it
yeah, 'cause-
both reflects on the code and the seeker term.
right. I think, like the question when Rob was talking about the firefighting, whether there's enough water, that sort of thing, that makes me go, well, that's a potential impact on community services.
By far.
And so how is that going to be addressed?
Okay.
Same with the visual, I anticipated that issue, because it's real. You basically have an area now along the road that's a few residences, and their backyard is a field. right? And so, what is the visual? So that is something potentially, that would be a seeker impact. Workforce housing, I'm trying to think, that is something that is really, apart from the clarifying whether it's workforce housing or affordable housing, which I think is, an important
There's a
clarification.
difference, right?
That's really something that is in your comprehensive plan and everywhere else, a benefit, if that's what they're providing. And if it's following the code, then that's, a good thing, right? It may not be the right place for it, but in your opinion, but it's a good thing from a seeker standpoint. So those are the kind of things just to think about as you're framing questions, I would suggest.
Well, I understand. I'll go through the EAS, I guess it is, that they put
Yeah,
here,
this is,
which I already started.
yeah, I know, no doubt.
One of the things that I'll just point out to everybody, there is I think it's 88 or 90 pages of attachments to that first document. Yeah, you did the same thing I did, which is have somebody print it so I could read it. So there's a lot of detail in there, and one of the advantages of having you list out everything is perhaps Mr. Sander could then put it together, condense it, so you don't have to search through 88 pages to find where that issue was addressed, and he can point it out and say, here, on page 6 of the WSP study, here's our analysis of impacts, the likely impacts to the creek from our various groundwater discharges. Because they're in there, but, and they do a detailed analysis of a lot of things, and they make a couple recommendations, so on and so forth, which I think have been incorporated into their designs. So theoretically, there should be no impact to the water quality. But
Well, no, I will say I was not able to find the results of the PERC test. Where can I find this?
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Because.
Yeah. I mean, the document's 450 pages. I totally get it. It's a slog to get through, almost as much of a slog it is to write. So, I know both. So.
I'd just like to jump in here, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
They're
go
like
for it.
monopolizing the whole conversation, sorry. I was reviewing just your FEA form, and I have not read the traffic, but if you have 28 units, that could be 28 to 56 cars. How can you put that it's not going to substantially change the traffic? I don't understand. I'll read it, I'll see what you have to say, but I don't know. Same with, you're going to have no streetlights. These are little tiny homes. Well, I shouldn't say that, but these are homes right next to each other. It's dark out now. They have children probably because they're young families, and it's going to be dark, really dark on those streets. And you're concerned about Freshtown. I'm really concerned about public safety here. You got to think some more. I'm sorry.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. We've had a number of accidents there. People are pulling out. Freshtown, there's no traffic light there as well.
Yeah, I know.
Not that I'm proposing a traffic light, but having been on the rescue squad in town, we've had a number of accidents over the years there, where people are impatient and they pull out. Now we're talking 56 cars maybe coming out of that driveway. I'm concerned about the aesthetics as well. I'll piggyback on some of the concerns you have as well, Ken. So, and we're also talking about the impact on the school district as well. So those are some of my concerns in a short, I'll keep it brief, but we can look at the whole picture, and let's just look at it. And I think there are concerns of the public as well here. So, I have some issues, and we'll just move on.
Do you mind if I just make a brief comment? So I just wanted to make the distinction for the visual impact side of things, because this seems to be a hot issue. As you know, I work with the Keen Stud team as well. But this site, I wanted to note that this site is not within the SPO district, right? The SPO district was placed on Keen Stud because of that state overlook, right? Because it is a significant visual. This area is tucked in a valley, a field area, that has also been studied for, again, higher density development. I don't, if any of you reviewed the immediate hamlet plan that I attached with it, that had over, the town adopted it, and it had over, I believe, 100 units for this field, right? So the town fully anticipated a higher density development in this field. It's adopted, it's all of that. But I also want to note that the part of our finding statement was the preservation of the existing vegetative buffer, right? So that's why we placed no cut easements against the residential units, because again, we don't want to disturb them. It's also part of the reason we didn't want to do lights, because if we did lights everywhere on this road, it's just more lights that the neighbors could potentially see. So there is drawbacks if we want to do public safety, if we want to do visual concerns. It really depends on what the town's focused on. And our opinion is that the town is focused on providing affordable housing for its residents in appropriately designated areas. And so that's the only thing I wanted to comment on that. And then I'd be happy to address, again, if you have comments or concerns, I want to make sure they're not concerns. So if you send them to me, I'll write a cheat sheet to go through this document, show you where the answers are, and provide more answers if there's lapse. So
I think, and this is more of an aesthetic or esoteric comment. Up until 2 years, everyone in this room goes to Freshtown, you know? Up until 2 years ago, when you're pulling out of Freshtown, you'd look across the street and you'd see cornfields. Year after year after year after year. That is what the neighborhood believes that it's always been there. And now we're looking to change that. So that's why I think there's a certain amount of hesitancy. I think that, you know, we're in the midst as a community to experiencing change. Look at the article in the New York Times last week, you know, and it's hard. We want to do the right thing. If we want to do this quickly and say no, you wouldn't like that.
of course.
If we do this the right way and say yes, it's going to take time. So I just want to make sure we take our time to do this the right way.
Yeah.
And within the zoning codes.
No, it completely makes sense. And I understand no one wants to see the field outside their house be developed for residences. I'm assuming the neighbors at the time when all the residences that are adjacent to it were being subdivided from fields and constructed, I'm assuming those residents also didn't want those houses being built. So again, we completely understand your concerns, and if you have questions, just let me know. But I think this process is better involved if we move this through the public hearing stage. Because again, I believe a lot of your concerns are addressed, and I would like to get public comment too, so I can address it comprehensively within one package. And I think the application is progressed enough to get us to that point.
Can't do it until they do their secret determination.
That's fine. So but that's my goal.
That's the.
Well, it is a type 1 action.
Sorry, that's New York State town law.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always hold if you wanted to get a community comment, you could always do informal, you know, public comment session.
What?
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe what we do is we all spend a little bit more time reviewing the material, especially the substantive technical analyses that were provided. We think about it, we can put this on the agenda for the next meeting, and we'll all come to this meeting prepared with questions, and we can discuss it as a board, and Peter, if you're available, come to that meeting as well, and then we can have, I mean, I know you're always here.
I'm always here.
Then we can have a substantive conversation with the board and you, and go through all of the concerns one by one.
Yeah.
How's that
I
sound?
think makes the most sense.
And I just want to say for the record, there's a lot of stuff here that technically, as an engineer, I can justify, understand, and is satisfactory. But as you've heard me say, I don't live here and I don't vote here. And there are a lot of issues that some of these things raise that squarely fall on your folks' shoulders. So please, I don't want you to take the fact that if I say something is sufficient to do that, it's not meant to be, excuse me, a yay or a nay.
Correct.
It's meant to say to you, you have enough information within the standards to reasonably consider what's in front of you. But it's your folks' job to consider it. So, just understand that.
I think that's a very helpful distinction, John, so thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying that.
Unless you're trying to buy a house in this state.
Well, the other thing I would like to point out is that a master plan calls for the preservation of open space and farmland. So at this point in time, that was farmland. We're looking at taking that farmland away.
But I'm going to just play devil's advocate.
Go ahead.
Because your comprehensive plan has a rather, and I was kind of surprised when I read through it, this area was designated as an area to be developed and as an area to attract housing. And in fact, one of the recommendations was housing with commercial. It was the old standard, and Nina will tell you, there was a period of time when all the towns were doing it, saying, hey, we need stores on the first floor and we need residences on the second floor. And there was a lot of talk so what I'm saying is, obviously the town has evolved, and obviously you're going to find conflicts in certain points between farmland and other issues. So again, that's not my role to weigh that. That's your folks' role. But I think you have to be very careful, because this is one of those tricky ones that when you start to read all the aspects, there's a lot of conflicting opinions as to what this area should be and was supposed to be. But that's why you guys sit there.
Can I ask that we not do it at the next meeting, but the meeting after?
I think, because a lot of people aren't here next time.
Because the 8th, I think there are going to be several of us who are not going to be here on the 8th.
people.
At least,
Yeah.
as far as
Three
we know
people?
at this point.
That's fine.
Just
We
two.
can wait.
All right, and
When
it'll
is-
also give
when-
us time to
Yeah,
go through this.
yeah, cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to
So what
still
is
try
that, what
it
is that
the
date?
22nd, October 22nd?
October 22nd, Peter.
Okay.
And
Does
I
the board
don't,
still
I
want-
would agreed with all what you were saying, so I apologize, but I just had a feeling that a lot of us had some stuff to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's possible to get me those comments ahead of time, I'll be happy to bring a little fact sheet or email something out that directs that ahead of the meeting.
You know my opinion.
No, I got yours. I got it written down right here. Fire suppression.
Yeah.
Can you make sure that Matt gets a good copy of the site plan for the next for the meeting on the 25th to put on the screen so that other people can see it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I should have been included in that set, so
22nd.
the PDF set. So
Okay.
one thing I do want to see, because this is clearly a type 1 action,
Didn't we already circulate?
no, this hasn't been circulated yet.
Okay, then I would recommend that. Yeah. This is a type 1 action.
Mm-hmm.
And if the board is willing, we can put together a circulation based on the part 1 and materials that have been provided.
What's your pleasure, ladies and
We
gentlemen?
have to say we're the lead
Agency.
agency in
Yeah,
this.
you have the preeminent role
The
in the
lead
approval of
agency.
this.
Yeah, typically the planning board would be for a
But
subdivision.
we have to inform the other
We do,
housing
and we
and-
would send out a notice to all
Okay,
the
I
other.
just want to make sure that
Yeah,
we are declaring ourselves, but,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
You're declaring your intent to assume lead agency.
right. And then there's a
Your turn.
30-day circulation period, so.
What's your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen?
One other question, Judy, are all the materials available on the website, on our website?
I don't know how to put out a website, and I haven't gotten any assistance to do that.
Oh, so no.
No.
Okay,
No
so,
applications are on the website.
oh, that's a problem. Okay, well, we'll figure that out. But we will make sure that the materials are posted on our website.
Perfect.
That's fine. Again, what's your pleasure?
Motion.
Need a motion to move forward or not? What do you want to do?
I'll make the motion. that we declare this a type 1 seeker project, and with us being the lead agents.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carries.
All right,
Peter, Judy, do you do this regulation, or Peter, do you do this
I
regulation?
do it.
Oh, Paul does it,
Yeah,
okay.
we do it.
Do you need me to cut down more trees for these? Just let me know, because,
I know, well, we'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
What you said.
So you know where we're at, 22nd.
that's perfect.
There we are.
Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
I recuse from Keenestad. See you later.
See you.
Take me with you.
Pretty soon.
The plat, this, and then maybe you can provide a link. So,
Yeah, I think that's
you got a Dropbox?
This was all on me.
Really big one. And I said, I can't. Because I got 3 minutes.
Yeah, what I did is I actually sent it out to.
All right, Keen's done now.
And said I needed it because I.
All right, let's get this back on business here.
Thank you.
You're up.
Yes. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Diana Kolev of Del Bello, Dunellen, Weingarten, Wise, and Whitaker, here for Keenestad. Also here is Peter Farrow of AKRF, and I guess Peter Sander has left the building. We're here tonight because at the last meeting, your board adopted a positive declaration under SECRA. We did submit a draft scope to your consultants for review before that meeting, and what we're asking for tonight is that your board consider circulating that scope. And we understand that there may be a resolution before your board tonight, so we're here to answer any questions you might have.
For John.
I have nothing. This is now entered the realm of people with Esquire error.
There it is.
And this is very simple. Tonight's really an administrative task, as Diana indicated. They had submitted a scope, as I've advised the board. We worked on it a little bit because we really wanted to make sure the scope ultimately has to be the board's. You have to take ownership of it. So it can't be an advocacy document for or against the project. It has to be objective and show that there's going to be an objective analysis done of the environmental impacts that are identified. So we made some changes to that, and we have a resolution for the board to go ahead and circulate that, and then to also schedule a scoping session, because that'll give the public an opportunity to come in and talk about the draft scope, and to circulate the draft scope to all of the other agencies who are involved in reviewing the project. And then you have to provide notice, so I would work with Judy to get notice published on the local paper, but we would also publish it, because you're required to do so by seeker, in the environmental notice bulletin that New York State DEC maintains. And then finally, we try to figure out some way to post the draft scope on the town's website so the public can avail itself of it. So that's what the resolution you have in front of you would do. And I don't think I even need to read it. If the board is, I should say, you have to circulate the scope. Yeah, it's a seeker requirement, and you have a 60-day period to get the scope finalized. So, doing this tonight is something you pretty much have to do.
Yeah.
So why do we have to have a resolution then to do it?
Just to keep it all nice and formal.
Okay.
Because it's a controversial.
All right, well, it's an administrative issue, so.
Do we need a movement?
The way this is constituted, you need a motion, a second, and then a roll call vote, sir.
Yep.
We're gonna read it first, Derek?
Sure. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board, acting as lead agency for coordinated secret review of the proposed action, accepts the draft scope for the purposes of its circulation to involved and interested agencies and being made available to the public, and directs the following: scoping session on October 22nd, making the draft scope circulated to all of the agencies, making notice of the availability of the draft scope and of a scoping session, publish that in the environmental notice bulletin, and also in the local newspaper, and then the posting of the draft scope on the town's website. Be it further resolved that this motion shall take effect immediately.
Need a motion?
I'm sorry, just a quick question. You said it was amended, the scope?
Yes, in the whereas clauses, I discussed that and
Okay.
basically said that it's, I wanted to make clear that the board has not even looked at it yet, but the applicant prepared it. We tried to make it something that would be more easily digestible by the public and more objective.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was understood. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Thank you.
Need a motion?
So moved?
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, gonna read it off, Judy?
Yes, the following resolution is moved to common all members of the planning board voting as follows. Robert Boyle Jr., chairperson.
Yes.
Nan Peak, absent, abstained, right?
Recusal.
Recused.
Lizette Bullock,
Yes.
James Walsh,
Yes.
Walter Dietrich,
Yes.
Kenneth Topolsky,
Yes.
David Vitiello.
Absent.
Just one last.
Yes,
note
thank
on
you.
that. With respect to the draft scope, one of the areas, one of the topics that I think is worthy of more discussion from the board after you've had a chance to look at it are the alternatives that are proposed, because as part of the environmental impact statement, you're supposed to look at alternatives. The alternatives the applicant has provided, I think at the end of the day, they would probably show a lot more, like Ken was talking about, I mean, more houses out there than what are proposed. And I was talking with George Janes about this. We think it's worthy of having a conversation with the board to talk about the alternatives that are proposed in the scope, and also to think about whether or not there might be other alternatives that at least the applicant could discuss, because they may say that doesn't meet our project objective. But there may be some alternatives that would have less of an impact than the project as proposed, or potentially have less. And so it's just a discussion. George Janes said he'd be willing to put together a memo for the board, and we could plan to have this conversation on October 8th or October 22nd, whatever the board would like.
I'd say maybe October 8th, because we got a lot going on the 22nd, some public hearings and so forth.
And what I was thinking, because you're gonna be gone, Foz, and you too, Ken.
That ain't gonna work.
Maybe we'll make sure that George gets the memo out, and if you guys have feedback based on that, just share it with me, or I'll give you George's contact
The
information.
8th's not gonna work then, because we need a quorum, you see?
We.
But it's a discussion about
Yeah.
alternative,
Yeah,
right, proposals, so
We need
we
it
wouldn't
for
be
everything
voting on
else.
anything.
No.
we wouldn't have to take any vote, and
Okay.
I texted with Jamie on the way down. He will be here. Will you be here, Jim? I guess it's the only, because you'll be here.
Jamie's
so you want him on.
abstaining.
As long as I'm alive.
Yeah, so as long as you don't have a vote, he's good for the forum.
Right, yeah.
You see what I mean?
I think that if George could draft the you know, memo or something about alternative proposals to include at least some aspects that might be less visually impactful.
I think that,
would be very helpful.
yeah, I think that's the goal. And can we also, when he generates that, can we share it with the applicant? So
Sure.
that they can come prepared to talk about it?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, if we could also, I know that you're going to be posting it on the website, but you mentioned there were a few tweaks, if we can get a copy of of that when the board gets a copy? Okay.
Yep, yep.
Just have a question, not
Go ahead.
specifically to this one, but because of this and because of Cascade Creek, and this room is pretty small. And I have a funny feeling that a lot of people are going to show up for these, and what are we going to do?
Well, what we've done in the past, we've done, went to the auditorium,
Okay?
if need be, but.
But then
we'll
it
play
can't
it by
be
ear.
filmed,
Public-
right?
What's that?
Then it can't be filmed, right? They can't move everything
It's a catch-22.
there. Okay.
We used to meet in Silo Ridge when we had a large discussion, we had a big auditorium there at that time.
Well, when we did Troutback, we met in the auditorium.
Yeah, you mentioned that, that's what made me think about it.
And it was full. So,
And I
it
have
was
a
during
funny feeling it
COVID,
could be
too.
the same.
So, we'll see what all plays out when the time comes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
With all that being said, is there any other business we need to attend to tonight, ladies and gentlemen? If not, I need a motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
Wow, I can consider tonight.